Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Stephanie and I am a life coach and a mentor, and I help people who have recently gone through a divorce or ending a relationship heal from that past relationship, and I help them regain their self-confidence and their self-esteem so they can rebuild their new future. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am so glad that you're here. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Now, this week we're talking about something that is kind of important because I know when people end relationships, they tend to reflect back. And so we're going to talk about 3 reasons why relationships fail. Now, a lot of the times when we see couples who have been together for 25, 40, 50 years, we always ask them, what's the secret? Like, what's the secret to making a relationship work? And I don't think that you really need to ask someone who's been in a marriage or relationship for a long period of time, what's the secret? Because most often, if you have been in a long-term relationship or a marriage and it's failed, hopefully you've learned a few things along the way. So I want to give you 3 things to kind of think about when you're looking back, reflecting on your relationship in terms of why it didn't work. So the first reason why relationships sometimes don't work is this thing called perfection. I think that in this day and age, we work so hard at our careers, at our jobs, and we don't always nurture our relationships. And it's not just our romantic relationships. It's our friendships, it's our family relationships, even the relationships we have with our children. We don't often make them a priority. We work, some people, 50, 60 hours a week, and we forget that it takes time and you have to nurture your own relationship. The saying is true that in order for your grass to grow, you have to water it. So if you want a successful relationship, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes making your partner a priority. And I think one of the things that people often don't think about when they're going into a relationship or going into a marriage is your marriage is not going to be perfect. Life happens. There's transitions, there's challenges, there's things that you're just going to go through in a relationship, having children, buying a house, renovating, someone passes away, handling each other's families. There's so many different things that when you're dating someone in those first few years, when everything's amazing, you don't think about all the challenges that life's going to throw at you. And a relationship is a partnership. You've made a commitment with this person, regardless if you are married or not. Even if you're in a long-term relationship, you made a commitment to this person to be in a relationship. And when the good comes, we often just ride that wave, and when the bad comes, we often don't know how to handle it. And a lot of this perfectionism in relationships has to do with not wanting to sit when challenges happen and work them out and communicate with each other. We often just say, well, that person's not right for us, and we just discard the person or the relationship or the marriage, and we just give up too soon. The other thing is most people struggle with this idea that, they want to find a partner that shares the same values. Very important. We would like to find a partner that enjoys the same types of interests as us. That's important as well too. But we often forget that no matter how closely related you are to this person, no matter how many interests you have that is the same, no matter how aligned your values are going to be, this person's not you. So they're going to have different thoughts and opinions at times. They're going to think differently. They're a different person than you. And I think we often struggle so much with wanting to control our partner and control what they think and how they think and what they think and how they feel, instead of just accepting them and what they think for who they are. Okay, they have this thought, they have this opinion, and that's okay that it's different than ours. We don't have to be in agreement all the time on everything. The saying, let's agree to disagree, is a huge thing. And I know it's something that I myself use in relationships because at a certain point, I don't need the other person to agree with me. I know how I feel, I know what I think, and if you don't agree with me, that's okay. And that's a healthy person. When we start to try to control each other, that's not real love. That's conditional love. That's saying that you need to think a certain way or be a certain way or do a certain thing in order for me to love you. And that's not what healthy relationships should be about. The second reason why relationships sometimes fail is a lack of self-love. A lack of self-love either in both partners or maybe in one partner. And the reason why I bring up self-love is because it's important in the beginning of a relationship when you're dating, and it's important just throughout your relationship in general. So many times we say, oh, my wife makes me so happy, and oh, my husband makes me so happy. And while that's amazing, and they should, that person's not responsible for your happiness. And I see so many people hand over their happiness to someone else, whether it's their children, whether it's a family member, whether it's their spouse. And the reality is no one can make you happy but you. No one can make you feel as loved as you should be loving yourself. And if you don't love yourself, if you don't really love yourself unconditionally, flaws and all, if you don't have a healthy if you don't have healthy self-talk, if you don't really respect yourself, if you don't do all of those things for yourself, no one is ever going to do them for you. So if you don't respect yourself, you're always going to attract people that don't respect you. If you don't really know how to unconditionally love yourself, and you're looking for unconditional love in another, you're never going to get it because you can't get what you aren't. So the third reason why relationships sometimes fail is expectations. We sometimes go into relationships with an expectation of who we think this person should be or how we think the relationship should work, and we don't communicate that with each other. We have an expectation on who this person should be in the relationship, and when they're not that person, we try to mold them and frame them into what we think they should be in the relationship and how they should look like and everything like that. And when it doesn't happen, we get upset and we have letdowns and we feel a little bit of resentment towards that person when that person is just being that person and we didn't actually see them in the beginning for who they were. We tried to just conform them into who we wanted them to be. And I see this happen so often, is we don't stay true to what we really want in a partner, the qualities that we want in a partner, because we're not loving ourselves enough to know that we really deserve it or that it's out there. And we kind of just take whatever comes along, and marriages and relationships are long-term commitments that we're in, and like I said, life happens. And I think that when you first enter into a relationship or you first enter into a marriage, you have this idea of how marriage is going to be, and it's going to be amazing, and we're going to always communicate, and we're going to always be on the same page, and that just doesn't always happen. Even the best relationships, that just doesn't happen. And it's so important to come together throughout your marriage and talk about, okay, well, what's your expectation of this marriage? We're about to have a baby. How do you see our relationship working and this dynamic working? And really communicating that with each other and coming to a common ground and compromising on what that common ground should look like for you. I had a great relationship coach once say to me, and it's so important and it's so necessary and it's so healthy to do in your relationship or in your marriage, is she would go to a coach throughout her relationship. Not that there was necessarily anything going bad or going wrong, but before any major transition, number one, she always would go to a coach, and she would get coached for a few months with her and her husband because they wanted to make sure they were on the same page. So before they got married, a lot of people do pre-Cana and stuff like that, but I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think that really prepares you for marriage. And what she did is she went to a relationship coach before she got married, and she sat with her husband and they just discussed, okay, what are your expectations for this marriage? Aside from, are we going to have joint credit cards? Are we going to merge our bank accounts together? Who's going to pay the bills? All of that kind of stuff. But all of that was important, and it's something that they talked about, right down the line, is what is the expectation for this relationship? So if you're about to get married and sitting down with your husband after work and having dinner together is important to you, Is it important to him? You know, these are the things that you need to discuss. And then she would go back when something new happened in their lives. So when they were about to have a baby, they went back again and they did a couple more months just to like make sure that they're reconnecting, making sure that they're reestablishing their agreement. And I think it's so healthy to do. And I think it's really necessary for any couple to do, is reestablish your agreement, because at every transition in life, whether it's even the major things, you know, getting married and having a baby and buying a house and, you know, selling a house and moving somewhere else, and my husband's leaving his job and he wants to, you know, become an artist or whatever it is, all of these changes causes your agreement to be renegotiated. And what are the terms going to be? And how are we going to make sure that we stay connected as a couple? This is so important. It's like buying a car and never giving it an oil change. You have to invest in your relationship. And I think that if you can make a commitment that not to wait until something's broken and trying to fix it, to throughout your relationship, throughout your marriage, making it a priority to just sit down, you know, and say, what's going on? How do you feel about the relationship? And really being honest and vulnerable with your partner as to how you think it's going and what are the things that you feel are lacking in the relationship. It's about communication. And so often couples say, well, you know, we communicate very well. But are you communicating on the things that need to be discussed? A lot of couples that are very happy and healthy in their relationship never really think about these things. It's just assumed that everything's going to work out. And I think that it's so important to make this a priority. And I think this idea of kind of reestablishing your agreement with your partner is a wonderful thing for any relationship, to ensure that it stays successful and that you're making sure that you're giving your car that oil change or that tune-up that it needs. Now remember guys, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share it with anyone that you think might benefit from this information. And don't forget to leave any comments or messages or questions that you have down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time.